Good morning, guys. Coming to you guys with a quick maintenance video. I just noticed that, well, first of all, during another tournament, I had another part on my kayak go. Um, Sadly, during the tournament, I just wanted to just focus on fishing. I hadn't been on my kayak for a long time, so it's kind of more of a prescribed medication for me, I guess. It just wanted to just relax and just get back on the water and enjoy it without having to mess with electronics or anything like that. So that's why I don't have a video of that. But interestingly enough, for me anyway, during the tournament, another part of my kayak gave out. Again, it's nothing to do with Hobie. It's actually mainly due to me failing to do maintenance on my kayak. So so that's kind of what's leading to a lot of these issues. So nothing on the Hobie, well, at least on the 2018 and older style kayaks anyway. But yes, today I'm working on rudder cables. In particular, the up down is one that had gone bad on me. So I need to replace that. I've actually noticed that it was actually pretty worn out on my steering cables as well. So I already went ahead and replaced that, and I noticed a few tricks or tips that might help you guys out. So I'm going to go ahead and work on that and show you guys some of these tips. But real quick before I start, I noticed that a lot of these lines, not the up down replacement lines, I actually ended up buying the Hobie rudder kit. Is part number 80020001 as a full set. But I'm thinking most of the tubing on these kayaks were good. I did replace one because I actually ended up trying to figure it out and damaging it while trying to pull out the line and everything. But my lessons learned will be your benefit, I guess, to save you guys some trouble. But anyhow, I noticed that these new lines do come with this little gasket here, this little O-ring gasket. I think it's mainly just to prevent the water from going in through the tube into the inside of the kayak. I didn't notice any of these on my steering lines. I don't know if that's something that I popped out by accident or not, but when I was pulling the line through, I didn't notice any of that. But obviously for the rudder cables, they all have this inside of it. So I'm going to try to keep this on the rudder lines, on the up-down lines, but for the steering lines, I didn't notice anything of that sort. So I'm gonna assume that it wasn't there. and I know that, and the way I'm doing this, I would have been able to see the O-ring if it was there. The way I'm kind of doing these replacements. So I'll show you guys what my little trick is and the reason why I believe I don't think I missed it on the steering lines. But we'll jump right into this and kind of just show you what I'm doing here. So I actually did replace this or fix this once. I thought it would be okay for me to just take this cut part and just reassemble it into this box here, I guess if you want to call it that. But I noticed that when I just went ahead and tied this end back in just to install it, my plug here, when I pulled it, it wouldn't be able to lock right here. The up cable is not that bad because you don't have to lock it in any way, but this one here, I was not able to lock it as you are typically supposed to keep the drive down. So let me go ahead and just show you guys what I'm doing here to try to get this replaced here. This line right here, the gray lines are the newer lines. These are all in, so I just need to replace this one. Let's go ahead and get it replaced. So I did mention I replaced one of these right here because I actually ended up trying to get this out and I damaged it. It was staying put pretty good because I was trying to get this out, but the inside tubing on the inside, this tubing right here, actually ended up getting damaged because I was trying to force it out, but it was just popping out. But so I actually replaced this. I don't know why this is so long, to be honest. Maybe just to redirect it into the right spot on the kayak. That's probably what it is. But anyhow, I'm leaving it long, trying to keep it as best I can. Again, yeah, I'm just gonna keep this as long as I can, I guess, just because that's the way it came. I'm just gonna leave it if possible. But for now, when you pull this line through, be careful. Be careful, because especially on the steering lines, because the steering tube goes all the way up like to the front here, and it's harder to get these lines back into the tubing. So I pulled this all the way out mainly because it's shorter. This tube is shorter, and I could control it about getting it through here because I could reach this tube. But for the other lines, steering lines, I would advise doing the little trick I'm about to show you without pulling this line out of this tube. So you would really essentially want to do the little trick back here before you pull it through. So again, let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you guys. Alright guys, so what I took was 2-inch tape, cut about 1.5 centimeters going across, good old painter's tape. Main goal is you don't want to use too much tape because you don't want to add to the thickness of what I'm about to do. I'll show you guys what I mean. And what I did was, this isn't the same line, but I'll just show you guys anyways. But what I did was I overlaid the lines like this, going across the 2-inch tape, and I'll show you what I mean. But overlaid like this, and I'll show you why. I cross it like this, as close as possible, like that, and then pretty much I crisscrossed it on the tape here, and it rolled it up as best I could, as tight as I could, and then I ended up twisting it after I'm done. And this is why you want to overlay the lines, because if you meet it up like this, what ends up happening is that the tape ends up tearing. So the tube, you'll realize that it has plenty of inner diameter to fit this. So use about 1.5 centimeters of tape, overlay the lines, roll it as tight as you can, and then just give it a final twist. And what that will allow you to do is, it should fit in perfectly fine. Again, this is for all the other lines. I would actually tie it back here, tape it here, and then pull it through the tube to keep the line, because to keep it intact. But this one, it's a shorter line. I have access to the end of the tube right here, pretty close to the rear, so I'm not so overly concerned about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this through. And the good thing about the steering cables is that these come in longer lengths in the kit, or you guys could buy it separately for longer lengths. And when you pull it through, essentially there's a small section that they use loop knots here to actually pull off pretty easily. So really you're replacing like a 3-foot section, but it's so hard to reach back in here to try to get the connections made, and you can barely see it, and you can't work with it. Your arms don't really fit. So that's why I'm actually pulling it all the way through with the new line, pulling it out through the front hatch, taking the old section off, creating another loop knot with the new line up front, and then obviously I'm not pulling the line all the way through. I'm leaving the excess line back here. So after I retie it over there, essentially I'm just gonna pull that knot all the way back through. And I know that people have mentioned two loop knots together, but I was kind of worried about that too, because I wasn't sure how, if I leave the line sticking out here, how I would get another loop knot, 2 loop knots kind of looped together over there. I'll show you what I'm talking about, but they actually use an idea that's actually pretty clever, pretty simple, to be honest. I don't know why I didn't think about it, but I'll show you guys what that is. So let's go ahead. So essentially when you pull the line out through here, you'll get to the point where you pulled your line out, and then this line will actually come out. You'll see the new line, the old line. So what you do is take this tape off, and then you could take the old string off right here. And this is the knot I was talking about. One side will have a loop, and the other side just has a knot. And I know that this is more your rudder control lines, your pull lines, so it's a little thicker. But the other side will have the same type of line, but the same idea. Knot right here, going through the loop, and just locking it in there. So so really it's not two new loops, it's one loop, the other one having a knot on the end of it to secure it. So that's actually pretty clever. But again, you're replacing this old part of it, so let's go ahead and do that. So pretty much all you're doing is taking this loop and opening it up. Once you get that loop opened up, you pull that knotted portion out, and now the old line is freeing out. So what you do with the new line is tie a little loop, secure it over this line. So let's go ahead and do that. So essentially what you guys are doing, there's probably faster ways of doing it, but just for simplicity's sake, I'll just this is what you guys are doing. There's obviously a faster way of doing this, but I am going to just show you the lengthy way, just because it's a lot easier. So you take that loop, slide the remaining portion of the line all the way through, and then pretty much tighten it on the knot. But I am going to show you guys the other way that might be a little more tricky, because if you have the steering lines, you can't slide this line through because it's sticking out the rear still. So essentially what you're trying to do is mimic this here. So all you're going to do is take that loop, fold it over, pull that knot through so it looks like this, push this through, and then just tighten the knot like that, and essentially that knot is preventing it from sliding through that loop there, like that. Okay, so now again, if it's a steering line, all you would do is go to the rear of the kayak and pull it through. But again, this is the up-down cable, which is shorter. So I am gonna get this back through the kayak to the rear. I actually found this, I guess, street marking rod. It's like 6 foot. Quite useful for getting the line through the kayak. So I'm gonna use that and get it through. What I'll do is I'll tape that line to the end of this line and shove it through to get it to where I could access it by hand in the rear. So the rod's here taped. So I'm gonna take this off, pull this line through. And one recommendation again is, before you set everything up, make sure the lines are all in the right place, because if you hook everything up, you're gonna have to take it all back out to try to get to the right place inside the kayak, which is essentially over on the side. So go ahead and check and make sure it's in the right place. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, now two things with, again, I noticed this for the up-down cables, but I did not notice this for your steering cables. And now that I'm looking at it, looks like it comes with 4, 2 for the steering, 2 for the rudder, up-down. They all have the little O-rings on the inside of it. You can see it right there, kind of, I guess, right there, kind of. And then they all have the end caps. So I guess the steering lines are supposed to have them, but for some reason, when I pulled the lines out of my existing ones, it did not have it. But anyhow, with that being said, let's try to mimic the rudder lines as close as possible. So this one here, we got to get a cap and an O-ring with the O-rings already on there, but I'm going to take this off actually and get a cap on before I slide it through, and I'll show you what that looks like. So now it's going to look like this, and the reason why I'm actually opting to put this cap on later is obviously if you start sliding the line through the kayak, this cap might end up way over there and you can't get it. So that's why I'm putting it on after, but it's on. So let's go ahead and feed it through. So quick change of plans. So I noticed that with this being as long as it is, I guess you could cut that too, but I was not able to feed the new line all the way through to the rear and have it pop out, and while trying to get this gasket inside the tubing, because I wasn't able to feed it through as easily. So what I fed an old line, small piece through the tube and out, and went with the same method. This time what I did was because of the smaller hole that I noticed on the tubing, I actually met the two lines face to face, and I'll show you after that, and I just rolled it up as tight as I can, using actually a little bit less tape to try to get it to feed through that smaller hole that I noticed on the tip there. So let's go ahead and try that, and I'll show you guys. So essentially what you guys would do is pull this all the way to the end here, like that, and then pull the old line through, feeding it in, and then it'll go in, and I drop the cap. Essentially what you want to do is get this O-ring to go inside, and it'll start to feed through a little bit. To be honest, you could probably get the O-ring inside a little bit, and to be honest, you could probably just cap this on, because the O-ring and the cap are separate. Cap that on so that I don't lose it, and then when you pull, yeah, you'll see the O-ring right there start to slide down with the line to go inside. See that? Now the question is, will the taped end right there fit through this here? Moment of truth. Let's get this back inside. Tubing back inside so it's not. Moment of truth. Look at that, it works. Nice. So now the main thing is pull it through, and then again you gotta want to look inside, make sure it's tightening up in the right spot. So let's go ahead and do that, and I'll get right back. Alright, one thing to make sure is that you guys got this going the right way. Real quick right here, this is actually called the rudder pin. Just FY for all you guys that don't know already, you always come and get a spare one in your rear end and rear hatch here with new kayaks. I don't know about the ones after 2018, but all the new ones, older ones, 2018 and older, come with a spare pin there if this were to break. So just FYI. But anyhow, it feeds through. It's just opening here, but it goes through the hole right here, comes in. You guys got to make sure that it's on the right way. So really, essentially, make sure it's in the track right there. So essentially, it's got to turn this way. This has got to turn this way in order for the rudder to come up. So this is your up cable on the left side, and down cable on the right. So this one would actually go through the hole and go on the other side, going clockwise, coming from underneath here and up here. And I'll show you guys how it ties up. Essentially, you guys see it coming through here, going through the hole. Up rudder coming through, going counterclockwise. The down rudder will go clockwise. go through this hole right here, through. You see the up rudder coming right here, going through, and it comes down through the bottom. Essentially, after it comes down, you guys will tie these together, and that's how you lock it into place. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's test everything out now. Get down. There we go. Try that up. See if it's working fine. Try the downward. It locks. Let's try the steering. No lag. Seems to work fine. It seems overly loose. Seems responsive. We're good. So now all I gotta do is change out this handle, and I think we're good.